Hello everyone, Dividend Enjoyer here, and today I'm going to be doing kind of a different type of video. I'm going to be reviewing MicroStrategy and whether or not I would want to buy it, and also just kind of talking about my opinion on Bitcoin. This video was suggested by a subscriber, rpaulo71, and he commented, can you do a stock analysis of Strategy or MSTR? Strategy pays no dividends, but they have some preferred stocks that pay dividends. And after doing some research on the company, I found that it's essentially started as an enterprise company that bought a ton of Bitcoin. So 90% of its balance sheet is Bitcoin. So for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to break down the cash flows because I think that they are misleading. I will say that the majority of analysts that cover the stock do rate it a buy or a strong buy currently. But I think that essentially you can replace buying this company as giving yourself exposure to Bitcoin if you have a retirement or brokerage account. Now, fundamentally, when we talk about a company like this or any security for that matter, we're basically just going to be breaking down what my opinion is on Bitcoin. I don't have the full kind of Warren Buffett approach or Charlie Munger approach where I think all crypto is essentially useless and obsolete. I think that Bitcoin specifically serves a function of a hold of value. I think it is an inferior investment to a lot of equities simply for the reason that it doesn't actually produce anything. But I do think that it does function very well as a store of value, similarly to gold. Obviously with gold, it has a real function in serving for parts for computer components and just other things in general. Bitcoin kind of does the same thing because it's virtually unhackable, just because you'd have to have an equal or greater amount of computing power that is trying to solve the hash function to mine Bitcoins to be able to hack Bitcoin as a whole. And it really wouldn't make sense to hack Bitcoin or even attempt to, because even if you were successful and you were able to hack Bitcoin's blockchain, you would own all of that currency and no one else would. So why would they want to trade with you? So it would basically render Bitcoin obsolete and valueless. So there is a lot of security behind owning Bitcoin. I mean, it's probably the most secure crypto that there is right now. And it's also the most widely known. It's the most trusted, and it's seen as kind of the cryptocurrency that people agree is worth something, right? And so there are some advantages to Bitcoin. I think the biggest advantage that I can think of with Bitcoin is that more of it can't be printed, so there's a finite amount of Bitcoins to be mined. And another big advantage to Bitcoin that a lot of people don't really talk about is that you can avoid foreign exchange costs. So if you wanted to transfer money through foreign exchange very easily, you could do so virtually costless when you compare it to the cost to exchange US dollars for another foreign currency. But I will say that as an investment, I'm not a fan of Bitcoin, and I would not personally invest in MicroStrategy just for the reason that it's not producing you anything. So the Bitcoin will sit there for a very long period of time. It will hold it fluctuates actually, but it will hold some kind of value as long as other people want to exchange things for Bitcoin. And there's a myriad of reasons for why people would think it would be advantageous to trade with Bitcoin or hold some Bitcoin for various reasons, whether it's for duplicitous or illegal reasons, or it's for totally justified reasons like trading foreign exchange currency or having an alternate kind of store of value. But like gold, if you buy an ounce of gold now and you pay the same amount for a company that continues to increase its revenue over time, it's kind of like buying a farm with the company example. The farm will produce a certain amount of money each year and produce a certain amount of crops. And then with that profit, they'll buy more land. So I think that if you're looking to buy MicroStrategy or you're looking to buy Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies in general, unless you're buying something like Ethereum that has some kind of function and you believe in the functionality, and you believe that it will increase the value of the token over time. Now, Ethereum has some other problems I'm not going to get into because this is obviously a video on MicroStrategy and on my opinion of Bitcoin, because that's really what MicroStrategy kind of fundamentally is as a company. If you need a store of value, I think that Bitcoin is a good one. I think that crypto is going to continue to be more valuable because it's just easier than gold. It's kind of replaced the function of gold, other than the fact that gold is a natural resource that can be used in components, like I said before. But this is faster. It's less likely to be stolen if you have your password. It's completely anonymous. In some cases, I mean, it depends on what platform you're trading it on. Those are kind of the advantages and disadvantages, but I don't see it as an actual investment as much as I see specifically Bitcoin as a store of value. But there are fluctuations, obviously. So it's not as good of a store of value as gold, don't get me wrong, but it is very convenient for making these transactions and reliably knowing that there's a finite amount of it. And it does kind of already have that clout that it needs to be able to hold its value, where people recognize that it is worth something as an invention. So I will say this, though, if you're a very long-term investor, I don't think that this is a good buy, just because you're going to be dealing with the fluctuations in the price of Bitcoin, and that's going to be tied very closely to this company. But if you believe in the future of Bitcoin very strongly, and it has risen pretty significantly, but it's also dropped pretty significantly in the past, I think that you could justify buying into this, but it all depends on your understanding of crypto and your belief of crypto. I am not personally someone who wants to be invested in crypto, but I do see the value in crypto, and specifically with Bitcoin being a very convenient way to have a diversified and discrete currency. So that's kind of my opinion on cryptocurrencies and MSTR. Personally, I think that you should try to avoid it if you can and buy something that's sunk pretty significantly, because the stock has also doubled in value just because it's basically mirroring the value of Bitcoin. They do have some enterprise software as well, but it only makes up 10% of the company. And I personally just don't like putting all my eggs in the crypto basket, or any of my eggs in the crypto basket. But I do know a lot of people that have made a lot of money. So if you believe that Bitcoin is going to increase in value, that's a decision that you kind of have to make on that. I hope that I've kind of helped in the way you're thinking about making that decision. But again, I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice, but that was just my kind of 2 cents on Bitcoin and this specific company that is very closely tied to the success of Bitcoin. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much, rpaulo71, for giving me the suggestion. I thought it was very interesting. I didn't really want to do a discounted cash flow model valuation look at the company, just simply because all of the cash flows were negative, which is also a little bit of a red flag. But not too serious, because they obviously have the assets to sell off and convert to cash if they're ever in trouble. But the company's so closely tied to Bitcoin, I think it would be redundant to kind of review it as a traditional company rather than a company that has a ton of its future staked on the future of this cryptocurrency, right? So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.